to really ground us and be in relation to each other and to the women who are backstage right now, ready to receive you all. Throughout the show, they're going to be breathing, because breath is such a sacred thing. We can live for some time without food and water, but in a couple of moments without breath, life leaves us, because breath is also connected to spirit. And that's really important for us to root in as a part of the teachings that we've been learning here with Raise Pinay, and in our own journeys in this time when we are decolonizing in a very intentional way. Together, we're going to breathe 3 times in and out. If you want to close your eyes, you can. And if not, then just direct your eyes to either the earth or to the sky to ground yourself. Now breathe in and exhale. One more time, breathe in and exhale. And one last time, breathe in and exhale. Thank you for arriving. My name is Janalyn Caldetero Olipig, also known as JL to many of my kin. We come from a place in the Philippines in the very northern part of Luzon. My mother is from Ilocos Norte and my father is from Ilocos Sur. My mother from Hagutpud and my father from Santa Maria. It's important in this process that we've been doing with the women here in Raise Pinay and with all 3 generations, that we understand that also, on top of bringing all of the living folks who are in community and family with us, on stage with us, and with us in our process of being in our voice and our story, that we also know that there are many who lived before us, survived, and died before us in order for us to be here to speak our stories. There is so much to connect to in this time. Me and my partner have these conversations that get pretty intense and deep consistently. And he helped me to come to a realization that decolonization is actually a time period that we are in, where we are interrogating and being complicated by our identities in such deep ways, and where our elders who weren't in that phase of complication are in conversation with us still, and it's hard work to have those conversations. And it's even more difficult to think about how we're going to be able to pave the way for those who come after us. Something that I'm starting to understand and root myself in is that colonization was actually very necessary for us. And that may be a little scary for us to hear sometimes, because colonization was a time of great trauma, genocide, and death that's still happening in neo-colonization at this time. And we see that in our motherland, and we also see it here on this land that we live on that's called the United States, but it is also native land that is built in territories of people who are stewards to it. So I also recognize that this land itself is native sacred land to the Lenape people. And this area itself is called Manhattan as much as it's called Manhattan, right? It is important for us to recognize the indigenous people that still live on our land, as we recognize the indigenous people of our motherland in the Philippines who are struggling in unison to keep our land and our planet in sacred existence. If you are here and you're choosing to be here, it's most likely also because of the energy that New York City has to connect us to each other in your work, whatever it may be, in your relations, whatever they may be. When we do that, we have to connect the land as well, consistently. In a place like New York City, it's very difficult sometimes to remember that we are still on sacred land, because around us are buildings and concrete. But what I remind the women to do consistently is that even though we don't want to dismiss the concrete and the buildings, we want to connect to the people whose hands and sweat have built it, and that many of our ancestors' blood also lives in these constructions. That is the hard work of this time. And it is so important for us to understand that interconnectedness that I was talking about from the beginning of me opening my mouth. all of these sponsors that we talk about that are here gathering around these women, none are more important than the other. Every single one of them holds a piece of our community and how it's been shaped. And it's important for us to hold that very deeply. It's difficult to deconstruct capitalism. It's difficult to deconstruct patriarchy. It's so difficult to deconstruct white supremacy. But we're doing it, y'all. It's happening every single day, and it's so visible to us. And the energy outside, last night, we heard like fireworks going off during our sister sharing, reminding us that the energy of pride is also happening at the same time while we're here doing this great work. We have to acknowledge all. We have the privilege of doing that because so many have died and built and lived and survived. That's what Race Pinay is about.
Hey!
Because these women have been with me every Thursday for 4 months. So if you can imagine what that's like, and also what exchanges begin to happen, what deep learnings come from within us, and how those learnings expand. When you offer a lesson to your sister, to your brother, to your mother, to your father, something opens up inside of them that connects them directly to you. And then those learnings expand and they give you a window and a perspective that you may not have had about that part of human existence, of this living existence. We hope that in this time that these women come here in front of you and unfold their stories, their ancestors' stories in front of you, that you will allow your perspective, allow your lens to expand that story in a global connection. That's a big ask, but it's actually an ask that we have for you, not just for this space, but for all of your life. Thank you.
It's been a minute since I last felt you under my feet. Last felt the air breeze of your sun on my cheek.
Recorded in my hospital bedroom on the day of my daughter's birth. My mother dances in the moonlight. My mother is actually my nana, so my nana dances in the moonlight. If only dancing was actually dancing, but it's actually cooking, and for purposes of metaphors and as it sounds kind of slightly better, my mother dances in the moonlight. She chops vegetables and handles meat the way soldiers fold their linens neatly, except sometimes she's careless and a finger is cut. Her own demerit is blood dripping, a band-aid wrapping, and the continuation of the cooking dance ensues quickly. Sometimes it's 3 a.m. and she is indenting patterns on the edges of empanadas with a fork. And she will not pass down these recipes to me. She says, "You must watch and know." And her invitations are sachets or chasses, the correct French pronunciation, that chase her dreams back into the sunlight. I will never tell my daughter her dreams are unattainable. Even if someone like us has never made it to that level, I will tell her she can wear the moon in her eyes if she wants to do that for a living. I will never let anyone tell her that she cannot because she can. My brown island girl, she can, and damn it, she will. If I am her nana, you will. My nana dances in the moonlight. I ask if she can write the recipes down. She only writes lists of food that belong in the recipe, that's it. There aren't the directions like how long the meat must boil and how high or how much meat. There are no measurements, just a list. Whether or not you dump the water after you boil the meat is not included in the list of food. It's a list of food tested. sinigang is hot, and when I come back home to the bay, she insists she did not use the pre-made seasoning packet because she knows I am picky. She even separates the vegetables so they do not overcook. No one likes the veggies as undone as you, anak. So, I do it. She insists she does it for me. My nanay dances in the moonlight.
4 years old.
If you had one wish, what would it be?
I didn't wish for a new toy or a pet pony. My one wish, not to be shy and timid. I went to Catholic school for 10 years, and every morning I prayed for the audacity to speak. 7 years old.
You were such a good, quiet baby.
My mother would say to me as she soothed my crying sister, but how badly I wished for the audacity to cry in front of my parents without being reminded that I am a big girl. 10 years old.
You're a woman now.
My mother exclaimed as she handed me a pad and a training bra, explaining what this gift from God was as if she was my school nurse. Instead of telling me about the severe cramps, the heavy flow that would stain my pants, and the potential for a pregnancy, I wish she warned me about the rush of hormones and the mood swings I couldn't come back from. 13 years old.
Your friend speaks Tagalog, you know.
Then why didn't you teach me?
We were, but your pre-K teacher told us you were speaking Taglish, so we stopped.
I wish you didn't listen to her. So, in the summers, Lolo and Lola would stay with us in the room next to mine. For months, silence, dotted here and there with small conversation and pauses, wishing to find the words to know their grandchild. 16 years old. Mom, I'm in trouble, and I need you to come get me right now. Heart beating so fast, scared it will burst out, begging to be held, a typhoon of thoughts whirling every which way. I thought I knew how to swim. My dad just threw me in the water, so I learned my own way of swimming. But now, my legs are growing weary. What if I stopped and let the tide take me? 19 years old. Mom, I'm sorry, but I can't talk to you every day. I envied my peers whose parents were more lenient. Everyone else had at least one parent that they treated like a friend. I went to college hundreds of miles away to get away from my parents. I wanted my parents to be more like them, to be more American. So I started resenting my culture until my roommate insulted my dried mangoes and was surprised by my fear of shoes on in the room. My one wish in that moment, to be home. 22 years old.
Do you speak Tagalog?
konti lang po. Wondering what my life would have been like if I never stopped learning my mother's tongue. Would my parents have taught me how to cope with my feelings? Would I have been less rebellious? Would I have actually confided in them? Would we be closer as a family? Would I be comfortable saying, I love you?
My Lola Emma. During the day, while my parents worked, my grandma babysat me. She would sip her coffee while I sat on a high chair, feeding myself ginataan. Lola Pepai was a strong woman. In 1987, she visited us for the first time since moving to the United States. I was 8 years old. I remember my mom and my auntie Rose singing to my younger sister, cousin, and candlelight. They were trying to calm us down after we witnessed a violent fight between Lola Pepai and my uncle Noah. It seems like something I imagined, but my Lola did chase her son, my uncle, up the road with a bowie knife. Lola Pepai was a strong woman. She was born in 1923 in Narvacan, Ilocos, an agrarian region bounded by the South China Sea and the Cordillera Mountain Range, the country's tallest, home to 3 active volcanoes and a receding rainforest. To make it out of that unforgiving landscape in the midst of a depression, you had to be resilient, inside and out. She was the middle child among 5 siblings. As her father, Miguel's gopher, she learned many things. She learned how to be creative and resourceful when bargaining for lamp oil. Once in a while, her father sent her out for a bottle of spirits. Miguel was an angry drunk who lashed out at his wife, 4 daughters, and his son. Lola Pepai learned to fear. World War II and the Japanese occupation. She feared she would get shot. She feared that Baguio City would be reduced to rubble. She feared that what she had today could be taken from her tomorrow. So she became iron-fisted in raising her 4 children. Lola Pepai was a strong woman.
What is this? I can't watch this. game of Tell Us Area Bingo?
Yes. Let's do it.
I bet you in the next hour of this Sarah Geronimo film, we'll get to see all the things that are wrong with our culture. Starting with actors that look more Eurocentric than Filipino. The female lead has to choose between her dreams or a man. The father is either abusive or sickly. Subtle anti-black jokes. And can't forget about a toxic masculinity guilt trip disguised as a romantic speech on forgiveness.
Bingo.
Just to name a few.
Tell us.
So OA. I can't stand Philippine cinema. I hate that every time I hear Tagalog coming from my Lola's living room, I can probably predict the story with just one peek.
Yes. You're right.
But you know, the irony is that I love being Filipino. And I love the sense of pride that I get when a sister is recognized in the limelight. I want us to be on the silver screen! The problem is that I fear no one wanting to watch. Someone once told me that people don't like when stories are too real, because they don't think that reality and entertainment can coexist. Hollywood continues to profit off of Asian stories, told and portrayed by white actors. I'm talking about you, Scarlett Johansson. People of color rarely win Oscars. It's like we're not allowed to enjoy life if it stems from our own narratives. You know, like, it's like we all know that there's a bigger truth out there than what we choose to consume every day, but we choose to be fed the same lies, and we call it comfort food. I know so many people that let these stereotypes dictate their set of values. Of getting back with a man that loves a selfish love, of whitening the skin, of being subservient, of justifying how much you can settle, of giving up your dreams, of giving up your freedom. Ugh! This is the power of Hiya and the Pinay psyche. I am so tired of forcing myself to relate to images that don't reflect who we are on the inside.
Preach. Yes.
These shows, these films ask Filipinas for so much and give so little in return. They ask us to be pretty, but they don't value inner beauty. They ask us to be caregivers and bear this weight of responsibility, but they neglect our needs. You know, they ask us, who are you if you are not who the world wants you to be?
Preach.
You know, growing up, I was told by the actions of others that I didn't fit into this world, their world, because I didn't reflect a palatable image. In watching that movie, I was reminded of all the times that image was more important than my identity. I am so much more than what you see.
As a young girl, I was always petite, small, and skinny. In high school, I didn't even weigh enough to donate blood for the blood drives. But still, I complained about my weight, thinking my stomach could be even flatter. During college, I met my future husband. My heart was full, and so was my belly. He opened up a world of food I never even knew existed.
Beef chow fun.
Roast pork lo mein.
Fried or steamed dumplings for Woha.
And from a bakery down on Mott Street,
Custard buns filled with luscious filling and crunchy sweet topping.
On Sundays, we'd head to the Vince Lombardi service station to indulge in a breakfast buffet for $5.99 at Big Boys. All you can eat: bacon, eggs, sausage, pancakes, waffles. It was deliciously satisfying. But needless to say, I gained weight. I was constantly reminded of how much weight I was gaining by family members. I dreaded the comments I knew I would hear every time I went to a Filipino party.
what happened to you?
You gained weight.
Or the more forward,
You're fat.
but of course these comments were always followed by, as we were led to the food table, I hid my pain behind a smile, as all good Filipino girls are taught to do. From a young age, we're taught never to talk back to our elders.
Don't think who said it there. It's not meant to hurt you.
Whether or not those words were meant to hurt me, they were painful to hear, and I was not allowed to defend myself. What was even worse was the people I loved and respected were the ones insulting me. I thought if only I lost that weight and got back to my high school weight, I'd be happier and feel better about myself. So through the years, I jogged, I joined gyms, did the Jane Fonda workout, step aerobics, the Thai bow. I tried every diet. Cabbage soup diet, Atkins, Weight Watchers. My weight fluctuated as much as my feelings of self-worth. When I finally did weigh less than 100 pounds again, I noticed the skin around my stomach was all stretched out from having 3 babies. And there were still comments from other people.
Are you not eating?
You're too skinny. You're gonna disappear.
It took fucking cancer for me to realize how strong and miraculous this body is. I was diagnosed with advanced metastatic breast cancer in September of 2017. I went through 2 rounds of chemo. I lost all of my hair, including my eyebrows and eyelashes. It took away my physical strength, my ability to take care of my children when they were sick due to my weakened immune system. And most of all, it took away my certainty of a future. I remember looking at myself in the mirror one day, and it finally hit me. This body, my badass body, can walk for miles, has run a half marathon, can hold what feels like a ton of groceries at one time. It has nurtured, carried, and birthed 4 children. It's functioning every second. The breast, which has the cancer, nourished my babies. Why? Why did I hate this body for so long? It's working every single day, every second of my life.
pray for me? This was the response I was given when I told him I was depressed. I'll pray for you. This was the response I was given when I told him I didn't want to become a nurse.
I'm praying for you.
This was the response I was given when I told him I was moving in with my boyfriend.
I pray for you that you do the right thing. I'm praying for you. I pray for you that you do the right thing. I'll pray for you. I'm praying for you. I'll pray for you that you do the right thing. I'll pray for you. I'm praying for you. I pray for you that you do the right thing. I pray for you. I'm praying for you. I'll pray for you that you do the right thing.
I know there was more beneath those prayers, but what are you really feeling? Please, don't make me interpret it. I'll pray for you.
I hope you get over this, through this, survive this.
I'm praying for you.
Don't do that. Don't be that.
I pray for you that you do the right thing.
I don't really approve, but go ahead. It's your life.
Sometimes I don't need a prayer. Sometimes all I need is understanding, is encouragement, is trust.
It's okay to feel this way.
We'll get through this together.
I'm excited for you.
How can I help? What's your next step?
I'm proud of you. I just want you to be happy.
I love you.
I don't need a prayer. All I need is you.
The story my Lola liked telling her children and grandchildren was about the war. One day, as she was walking home from work, the Americans began an air raid against the occupying Japanese forces. Luckily, someone left behind a mattress on the road. She hid behind it, clutching a silver figurine of the Virgin Mary in her palm. Once the airstrike stopped, she emerged from hiding, only to face the Japanese soldier, who pointed his bayonet at her. Instinctively, she raised the statuette, and by some miracle, the soldier walked on, and she was spared. Lola Pepai was a strong woman. A few years ago, work took over my life. I neglected my partner, my family, my friends, and most of all, myself. First came the insomnia. The longest I went without sleep was 2 weeks. Then came the walking pneumonia, which lasted a month. Finally, a mental breakdown and suicide attempts landed me in a psychiatric ER and on medication for depression and anxiety. Not knowing what to do, my mom gifted me with Lola Pepai's figurine of the Virgin Mary. I'm not religious, but I held onto it as a reminder of how deep my reservoir of strength runs, even in the darkest times. A neighbor, a cousin, a great-grandfather. No one to defend her. Elementary school should be filled with reading
She ran fast. She ran as fast as she could to get away. To get away from you. A neighbor. Protect her. A cousin. Protect her. A great-grandfather. Protect her. Her body belongs to her. A husband, a marriage, a family. She stayed. Marriage should be filled with laughter around the dinner table and bedtime stories. Still, my grandmother stayed. She stayed strong. He betrayed her night after night. She held herself together. She held the family together. A husband, be with her. A marriage, love her. A family, remember her. She stayed for you.
In June 2017, I quit my job and my 15-year career as a fundraiser. Writing, which I loved but set aside as my career progressed, became a necessary form of therapy. When Lala Pepai passed away a month later, I rediscovered a leather-bound portfolio of her writing on the side. I didn't know she was a published writer. Saniqua, possession. I wish to sit and write undisturbed. I wish to write all the while a prize story. And finally, I wish to write a book, a novel, and the like. But when? How? And can I? She turned her writing over to me, her one grandchild, unlikely to have children of her own. Her blessing gives me permission to stop living to work and start working to live. Lala Pepai was a writer. I am a writer. Lala Pepai was a strong woman. I am a strong woman.
I remember practicing karaoke like it was a sport at age 4. Never needed to be the next voice or the next American Idol, but maybe I've become a little addicted to the feeling of being seen. Has my concern for the spectacle become an obstacle? Perfectly packaging entertainment, perfectly packaging my truth. How do I package my story for viewers to consume? How do I measure the value of this skid suit? How am I supposed to utilize my tired brown body while I sit with the privilege of having knowledge, while I restlessly acquire all these big words in English in hopes that somebody can understand me. Like, do I actually sound like this, or is this just what I practice? Because sometimes I feel like a fucking robot, you know, AI that always loses her shit on TV shows because she fathomed her existence in relation to a constructed reality. Like, what is she doing all this free will? My truth is that I'm nothing new, that I'm still getting the hang of the sounds of my voice. Just another simulation of the Filipino-American experience, product of the military-industrial complex, repercussions of an orchestrated diaspora. Like, where can I find a database for this? The only archives I have of my ancestors, my resilience, my cheekbones, my nose, my tongue, my skin tone, my inclination to create, recalling memories with my fingertips, alchemizing with my wounds, holding divine secrets in my womb while I attempt to envision my legacy as my parents' youngest and eldest daughter. Am I the reincarnation of one of my grandfathers, neither of whom I've met before? High blood like him, high blood from him, gravitating towards the lechon like him. Would my great-grandmothers love me, or would they shun me? How many past lives do I have to honor? Are my remittances adequate? Is my goddess complex an inheritance? I know we shared the love for music, its sacred geometries, rhythms, repetitions akin to the earth's vibrations, akin to cosmic revolutions, akin to a ritual. How do I incorporate love into my ritual? How do I incorporate love into my ritual? How do I incorporate love into my ritual?
We would get matching tattoos. 24 in Braille on our right wrists, marking the shared day we were both spat out onto this earth, immortalizing on ink skin that you and I were soulmates. It would be official, although we didn't really need it to be. We felt it the first time we spoke. You just moved into the room across the hall from me, the newest transient of our Brooklyn hippie house. You found me in the cramped kitchen putting away groceries. We bonded over my jar of cookie butter from Trader Joe's, and I knew I liked you then. Or no, it was the day you moved in. I heard you lugging boxes up and down our 4 flights of stairs. I was getting ready for work, and the sweltering July heat was oozing through every crack of the house. I felt bad that I couldn't help you. I opened up my bedroom door to awkwardly introduce myself and saw you standing there with a black crop top and cutoffs and dark brown legs for days. Hi, I'm Lyric, you said in a sultry voice that whisped into the heavy air. Ah, shit, my roommate's hot. I hope this won't be a problem. Or maybe it was when my last roommate told me that you'd be taking his place. He knew nothing about you, didn't even get your name right, but somehow I just knew. You would arrive and the world would shift. But the day that confirmed it was when we first had breakfast together. I was eating oatmeal and you sat down at the kitchen table across from me and just started talking. Words like a flood of marching fire ants.
You told me you hadn't been in touch with anybody you've known for longer than 5 years. A cut and runner. I asked you what your zodiac sign was. Scorpio. Me too. Wait, when's your birthday? October 24th? Shut up, no way. We gushed. Spilled the intimate secrets of our lives and connected inconceivable dots. Like we had been walking the same path in parallel over the last year. A raucous journey of hell and magic. We slipped into the honeymoon. You packed me chickpea pasta lunches without me ever asking. Brought home flowers from my bedroom. We spent summer nights vaping and singing, love, 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 over candlelit French toast. Of course we had the same taste in music. We texted each other songs that stuck to us like love notes. Found out too often that we'd been listening to the same albums at the same time. We'd laugh, not surprised. Sometimes we'd wake up in the same moods. Braggy or fanatic, at peace or on edge. And that's when our muscles went tense. You know what happened in the middle? The outbursts. Always over something stupid. Missing muffin tins and broken guitar strings. The fight on our birthday that sunk me for 3 days. We made up. Then the fight that sunk me for 2 months. You shoved me across the hallway and told me you were done with me. It was happening again. Inherited patterns repeating themselves through cycles and seasons and written wombs. The cosmic karma that grabbed me by the neck and clenched. I almost ended it, but the light in my chest told me to keep going. So I did. I tried to stay out of the house as much as possible. Turned on white noise machines so I couldn't hear you chatting outside my room. Put on headphones while hastily making dinner in the kitchen. I tried to keep myself distracted. That is until one day, someone asked me to imagine that I met an oracle. They said, if you could have them cast a spell on anyone with absolute certainty that it would succeed, what would it be? It didn't take me long to know the answer. I would ask them to heal you. That night, when I got back home, I unclenched my heart and felt yours did the same. The walls of the house stopped holding their breath. Still, we stalked the halls for weeks, pretending the other didn't exist. Avoiding and revering each other like ghosts. You and I are mirrors of each other, you would always say. And I knew it was because there were days you couldn't stand your own reflection. That you would look at me and couldn't stop yourself from trying to shatter it. Solange's new album dropped the day before I moved out. We blasted her tracks in separate bedrooms, both our doors shut. I left your throw pillow out by the stairs. You handed me back my electric fan. I asked you for my books back. You invited a new friend over for dinner that night. For a second, it felt mean. I had to maneuver around your laughter and freshly baked cinnamon rolls while I packed my things. Then you put on a good face for company. and asked if you were in my way. For a second, it felt normal. Like we were back at the beginning and these last 7 months it never happened. Your friend left, and I finished up packing and got ready to sleep. I filled up my glass of water silently behind you while you washed dishes in the sink. I tucked myself into bed, finally still for the last night in my room. I thought about how much I loved this home, this sanctuary we had created together, that I now had to leave. For the first time since the fallout, I thought about how you might be feeling too. An ocean wave surged inside of me, and I knew you could feel it. 2 drops rolled down my temples and onto my pillow. I could still hear you running water on the other side of the wall. La, 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 long as we got love, love, love.
Imagine if all women used their voices like an instrument. What would the world sound like? I know that I'd like to hear it. I don't know if I could say the same for everybody else. But in my family, we could be like a rapid-fire jazz band riffing off the other, some of us harmonizing better with some than others. As for me, I talk so fast, an up-tempo snare with laughs that punch like a foot pedal. My brother is the stuttering bass guitar, and my mom is the gentle piano tune playing, her delicate harmony that grows to a repetitive pop melody. Her anthems in life are Study Hard, and Always Pray. Can I blame her when the same chords are repeated to her and maybe the mother before her? How would I know? My mom uses her voice only when she has to play her role. So like all pop songs that hardly range in variety, I hardly listened. I chose not to listen. My mom didn't tell me that she had breast cancer. I found out as my dad sat me down at our kitchen table. Words had a hard time forming in my own stomach, but its mere echoes escaped in soft pizzicato plucks. Ha, 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 ha. Ha, 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 ha. Ha, 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 ha. Ha, 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 ha. Will she be okay? My dad said, don't worry. His voice the whole time trying to be a smooth saxophone, but my chest felt heavy with worry. She never talked to me and my brother about it. The woman who I know worries the most did not want us to worry. My mom simply did the things she had to do to survive. Go to work, take time off work to receive medication, have surgery. The whole affair happened without her talking about it, and I never asked her about it. It was like she was just doing her duty to live. It was like the only conversation she was having was with God. Why did you do this to her? I sit at the piano bench and grace the keys that she played, nervous to approach playing a new instrument, seeking a sound that I never really heard. But I pray it's still not too late to learn. Your love's put me at the top of the world.
The wolf, the elder, and the Marungai Sea. I had a dream about the Marungay Sea. I had a dream of meeting an elder in the mountains of the Philippines. She looked at me with her soft and kind eyes. No words, but she took my hands and she smiled.
Juana Sedana.
Diosina Sedan Monje.
Juanita Monje Gonong Bagasao.
Mercedita Gonon Bacasao Batista.
Melissa Ann Bagasal Bautista. These are our names. Remember,
We are your mothers.
Mommy, what do you remember about your Lola?
She was always giving me 20 pesos when I was younger, and she was always dancing, always smiling. She was very kind and beautiful.
Her answers were always short, delivered with her classic sass.
Ay, Missy, stop bothering me with these questions. Maaalala mo kaya, Izan. Go away.
But I need to know this, Mom. This is our family story.
Missy, agreeing ka? It's time to get ready for school.
Every morning, it would be itney, or sexy days. That's what Lola Ning calls them, in Inahoy.
Mangangan, tatlo di ka, gulsan. You need to eat something for your brain so you do well in your studies.
Did you always know that you wanted to come to America?
Of course, ever since I was a little girl.
Was it what you imagined? Did you struggle in adjusting?
Of course it was hard. There were struggles in life, but there were happy moments too.
She was 22 years old, part of the brain drain of nurses that came in the late 70s. It was 5 years before she went back to the Philippines. Pioneer of our family, here in the United States of America. We'd share glasses of red wine, go on Target runs for Tootsie Rolls and Werther's Caramel, her favorite. She'd tell me stories about my Lola Mariano around the kitchen table.
Ni Lolo na honest, nagagad. Apay, agasawa na ron. Nusang kayat ni Lolo.
Belly laughs. Both of us.
I have to work. Kasi namatay ka. And dahil tapay kortat, your Lola wanted me to stop working. Saan? Itulad ko, ti agsuro.
She remembers. I feel like I know him.